Hello, folks, and welcome to the monday.com webinar on working remotely. My name is Casey. We're going to wait here just another minute or so as we allow folks a chance to sign on and join us for this webinar. Some great questions in the chat here. Folks are asking whether they're going to receive a recording of this webinar. You sure will. It'll also be available for you on monday.com/webinars. I'd just like to make sure that I check in here. Is everybody able to see my screen? Just want to make sure everybody's able to see that there. Getting a bunch of yeses. That's excellent. All right. Also, plenty of folks using the chat feature today. While we wait for folks to sign on, let's use that chat bar to see where everybody's from today. London, Chicago, Brazil, just about all over the world. Folks, it's great to see you here today. Thanks so much for your time. We'll just wait maybe one more minute as folks get a chance to log in, and then we'll get started. It is so cool to see everybody here. Got folks from El Paso, Texas, all the way to Scotland, London, Barcelona. Really just great to have a ton of folks from around the world join us today. Okay, so let's get things kicked off here. Excellent. My name is Casey. I'm a customer success manager here at monday.com, and I'm one of about 24 folks who work remotely full-time. Today's webinar is about helping folks make a transition to working in an office setting together the way they're used to working, to suddenly and quickly making a transition to working remotely. And I'm really, really pleased to have the opportunity to help you do this. And we're going to cover a lot of concepts that'll help you do that. Let's talk about our agenda for the day. Things we're going to cover will be how to set clear goals. Going to talk about keeping information out of silos, making sure that everybody's aware of what everybody's doing. We'll talk about sharing knowledge through internal knowledge bases. We're going to, through all of these different examples, discuss how to communicate with your team. And we're going to have a very cool secret squirrel agenda item at the end of the webinar. That's my favorite part. I think you guys will like it a lot. We'll briefly cover some neat features that we're working on to help your team work more efficiently remotely. We'll talk about those briefly at the end of the webinar. And of course, we'll have a little section for some Q&A. Quick housekeeping item. Folks, today we've all been using the chat function so far, and that's a really helpful tool. If you have any issues with audio or video, maybe you can't see my screen or hear me that well throughout the presentation, let me know there in the chat function. However, if you have questions, I want to make sure that we answer them. Instead of using the chat function for your questions, I'll ask you to use the Q&A box in the Zoom video conference. And we'll make sure that we get to those questions at the end as best as we can. And to that end, let's dive right in. Perfect. All right. Can everybody see my monday.com board here? Let's use that chat feature. Perfect. I'm getting a bunch of yeses. Thanks very much for your confirmation. So monday.com at its core is a centralized digital workspace for your business. It's a work operating system, all right? When people need to get informed or get any work done, they know to go to monday.com. Many organizations are in the midst of making a very difficult transition from working in-house to fully remote teams and even entire remote companies. To compound this difficult transition, you're making it on the fly, often with little preparation or know-how, and we're happy to help. The platform functionality that we cover today is meant to equip you with solid steps that you can walk away with and keep your company not only connected, but working really, really efficiently. When considering how best to make this transition, a business owner should ask herself, okay, what pieces of information are essential, which must be known or at least searchable by everybody in the company? You want to apply this question to the entire company and then to each organization or team within the company separately. Once you know what that information is, put it in monday.com. Companies and teams have all manner of unique workflows, and solutions for those can look very different, of course. But a few common problems hurt everybody. And today we're going to discover how to use monday.com to solve those problems so that you can do your best work. Okay. First thing we want to cover today is setting clear goals. Custom structured boards provide visibility into what's happening, who owns it, when it's due, and where it stands at any given time. We see each item or row here in this board simply as a thing that needs to get done, right? Schedule team shifts, refresh onboarding materials. These are just things that need to get done. We use columns to manage complexity. And I want to just take a quick break. It looks like there's some audio video issues for some folks, and I just want to make sure that that's not widespread before I continue. It looks like the majority of folks can hear and see just fine. I'm gonna continue, and I do want to thank you for letting me know. Folks, if you're having a hard time hearing or seeing me, log out of the webinar and log right back in, and hopefully that connection will refresh there. Appreciate your time. Okay, so looking at the board's structure again, these items, right, or these rows, simply put, they're just things that need to get done. We use these columns to manage complexity, right? We can see, well, here's a person column. This is who owns that item. How about a date column? When it's due. You can have multiple date columns, maybe one for the start date, one for the end date, one for a check-in, whatever you like. I've got a status column here. This helps me understand at an immediate glance where this item stands. I've also repurposed another status column here, and what I use it for is to denote priority. Cool. So again, board structure is a great way to make sure that you've got a way to manage your process in a way that makes sense for your organization or for that process. These tasks, you know, I want to make sure we talk about the last piece of the board structure here. We've got the items, right? The rows. We've got the columns. What are these groups? What can you use them for? Really, you can use them for whatever you want, and I want to show you how flexible they can be. They can be tasks for the week of Monday, March 16th, right? Maybe I'll just say weekly Monday, March 16th. Everything in that week, that's the tasks that go here. Maybe what I want to do instead is say these are pending tasks and these are done tasks, right? Instead, so I want to show you the flexibility of the structure of a board. You can do whatever you want with these boards. What I'm going to do instead is use groups to make a way to denote which team is handling these tasks. Okay, so let's call this one. Let me call this CS, right? Customer support. And here, let's just call this CSHR department, right? We've got our HR, or our people ops team for our CS department, and these are tasks that they're going to do. So again, the structure of the board is how you manage to use a board to manage complexity. And I just wanted to cover that super basic concept there for a lot of our folks who are joining today that are new to monday.com. We're going to walk through some ways to make sure that we know how to communicate remotely with one another in this new setting. So let's add a quick task here and talk about how we can communicate with one another. Let's say that I want to make sure that everybody's getting monitors shipped to their homes right now that they're working from home. Great, we've got Alpha team, Bravo team. I already know that Alpha team is good to go, but I haven't heard from Bravo team. So what I'm going to do is just pop in here and I'm going to ask my buddy Sivan to take care of this. And I'm going to say, hey, Sivan, I know that Bravo team has 4 different people on it. So I'll just use a checklist here. Bobby, Susie, Tim, Aaron. Anytime, Sivan can pop in here and say, yep, they've all got them, and it's done. Now, in a situation where we're working remotely, it's very natural for people to have questions about these things that they're assigned to. Monday.com brings clarity and ease to these conversations by tying them to the assignments themselves. What do I mean by that? You see these updates, right? These little conversation bubbles. This is a place where Sivan might come in and ask me a question about this. I might even come in here and say, hey there, Sivan. Just a quick heads up. I've already taken care of Alpha team. She'll get a little ping and we'll understand, great, no worries about Alpha team. I just need to know what Bravo team is doing. Where will that come through? For instance, in her bell notification, she'll see that I assigned her to the task. And when she's mentioned, it'll pop up in her inbox, okay? Little brief overview of conversations that we're having. Of course, anytime you want to look at these things, you can click on it and be taken right to the board. So lots of functionality to explore within the communication part of monday.com, and we're going to touch on a bunch of that stuff later today. Never hesitate to reach out to support@monday.com or go to support.monday.com if you want to explore that functionality deeper. Another huge benefit here with a board of this type is that many meetings are no longer necessary, right? With visibility into everybody's work and where it stands, there's no need to have a meeting to determine these things. It's clear as day the moment you look at the board. Email chains that seek understanding can also be avoided. So as your team is navigating this transition from working in-house to working remotely, you can save a ton of time and headache seeking information from one another by simply placing that information in monday.com, using your board structure to manage that complexity, and going through the communication tools that we use to have all that information in one place so that anybody can figure out those details at the drop of a dime. Okay. Let's talk about this priority column for a quick second, right? As things move toward a remote first environment, a huge part of communicating goals clearly is to help your team understand what matters most. It's fine to give somebody, 8 things to do, but it's important that they know which items are the highest priority. Making this clear, that's on leadership. So I want to show you how to ensure that when it comes to decisions made exclusively by leadership, these decisions are manifested in the platform with that same level of exclusivity. This is what I mean. On this board right now, anybody who's on the board can change anything. What I want to do is pop into my priority section, and I want to make sure that only my leadership team can change the values in this column, okay? How do I do that? Anytime I want to interact with a column, I'll just move my mouse over its column title, look for this little drop-down guy, and when I click on it, I get the whole column settings, column menu, different ways that I can interact with this column, right? What I want to do is go to column permissions. I want to restrict the ability to edit just this one column. Who can edit it? Well, me, I'm the owner of the board. And I want to make sure that Sivan can edit it too. Great. Now, everybody on the board can see this column, but only Sivan and I can edit it. Nobody else will be able to edit this. Okay, so let's talk quickly about dashboards. Again, this is a huge level of functionality, and I want to invite you to explore this functionality through our support center, again, support.monday.com. But I do want to show you briefly what it looks like and how you might use it. We're going to cover some of these other boards here in a minute, but real quickly, let's take a look at how Casey Main is assigned to a couple tasks on this team tasks board. Here in our knowledge base library, which we'll dive into in a few minutes, Casey's assigned to some other things too, right? Now, different boards, these boards accomplish different things. How can we make sure that we're not overloading Casey? How can we make sure that we get a good, kind of a bird's eye view of what's happening among different boards? Our dashboards is the answer to that question. So when I click on dashboards, I've created a workload overview dashboard. And right now, it's just got a single widget. Widgets are tools that take information from multiple boards and place them in a single visual space for you to use. So this widget in the dashboard is called the workload widget. What I've done here, I'll give you some insight into how it's set up, is taken all the boards in my account and said, hey, show me the knowledge base library and the team tasks board. That's what I want to see. Within each of those, let me know using the do by column on the knowledge base library and the date column on the tasks board, what time zone we're in, right? Okay. Now, we saw that I had multiple people columns on those boards. What I want to do from the knowledge base library is see anything that's assigned to anybody in the writing team one. And on the team tasks board, there's just that one people column that we have. Great. Now, I really only want anybody to be assigned 4 things at any given time, right? Now, this is totally just a number I'm using here for the sake of an easy example. You can do whatever you like. You might even consider adding a number column to your board so that you can kind of assign effort. Maybe you're familiar with the story points concept. However you want to make that happen, you can do this by effort, or again, just by the raw amount of things that are assigned to somebody. Okay, now I see that within this week, Casey non-admin has 2 things assigned to him. Sivan's got 1 thing assigned to her out of 4 desired, right? I don't want anybody to have anything more than 4, but this workload widget gives me a real easy to understand visual indication that, whoa, maybe I've given Casey too much here. Yep, sure thing. He's got a lot on his plate. In fact, if I click on it, it'll show me what's going on. I can even hover my mouse over it, click on one of these things, go to that board, and if I want, I can just reassign it from this point. Cool. So again, lots of functionality to explore within dashboards. You might even choose to add a new widget. One of my favorites is the table widget. And again, I do encourage you to go through your dashboard and explore all our different widgets. They all have these little explanations of what you can do with them. I'm going to search for a table widget. I just want to build this out in front of you super quickly just so you can see what it does and how it looks. So again, I just want to take these 2 different boards, right? My knowledge base library board, which we'll cover in a bit, and my team tasks board, 2 totally different boards that look very different and they manage very different things. But I want to see them in one place because I want to understand the totality of what's going on, right? And again, you can do this for many boards at a time. Depending on the level of plan you have, 3 and 10 boards for our starter and pro plans. Boards per widget. It's important to recognize that you can have unlimited widgets in your dashboard. Okay, So now within my table widget, what I'm seeing, I'm going to make it full screen here so that we get a better view of it, is that I have multiple boards here represented in this same table widget. But it's a lot of information. Maybe I only want to see things that are assigned to Casey. What I can do is filter this widget by using this icon or this icon just for people. And what I'm going to do in this filter icon is by board within the widget, choose how I'd like to filter it. Within the knowledge base library, I want to see anything that's assigned to Casey, but only if it was assigned by Sivan. Great. Now, within the team tasks board, I only want to see things that are assigned to Casey. And maybe I only want to see things that are assigned to Casey that are being worked on, right? I don't need to see it if it's done. I'm just going to click on working on it. Now I'm going to save these filters to the widget, and this table widget, which used to house or show a ton of raw information from 2 boards, now suddenly shows me precisely what I want to have, which is an insight into what Casey's doing on multiple boards. Awesome. Okay. So we've talked about setting clear goals for everybody using our team tasks board. And this is a concept that we're happy to explore with you. If you need help setting this up for your specific situation, check out support.monday.com, where we've got a ton of helpful resources, and never hesitate to email support@monday.com, where our team is there 24/7 and happy to help. We've also talked about dashboards, which are a great way to make sure that we've got everything in a single visual space if we need it. Another problem we're going to solve today is information remaining hidden in silos. We have a concept called a captain's log, and I want to show you that right now. What a captain's log is going to do is house critical information sourced from the entire company in a single location, right? So never again is one team going to spend hours searching for information that another team knows offhand. I think it's important to call out that I like keeping this board really, really simple, very simple indeed. The point here is, and notice our board description area. This is a great way to give folks an idea of what's happening on the board and how they're meant to use it, right? So as soon as we go to the captain's log board, we see that this board is meant to track every change in production on the platform. And we'll use this information to help understand, listen, the good and the bad that result from our behaviors, what we release on the platform, how we communicate, etc. So what I've done again is use groups to show different places that we do our work, right? Customer support, our product team, our infrastructure team, and these are just some example tasks that we've put here. I think it's nice here to keep it very, very simple. I've got a last updated column that you can find from our column center. If you click on more columns, explore all our column options here. I add a last updated column and a creation log column. What these do, the creation log column will let me know when each item, right, row by row, was created and by whom. The last updated column is going to tell me the same information, but just for the last time this item was touched by anybody. So, for instance, we've got a new process for enterprise upgrades, just as an example. If I click on this item, I'm going to get more details, right? Looks like Casey non-admin is saying, hey, everybody on this board, just a quick heads up that all our enterprise customers now have a streamlined upgrade process. Just check out this link for more details and let Sivan know if you have any questions. Cool. We can see that, again, using the manual piece of the communication that our platform offers, these folks have started to have a discussion here, right? And this is, again, a discussion that anybody at any time can access. Really, really helpful when you're working with a dispersed team. So if I were to come in here and say, you know, test comment, right? Maybe I were to add a new item myself, we'll see that this one was updated by me and created by me. If anybody were to come in here and if there were a status column or anything like that, this would change suddenly to reflect that that person had done that. So really helpful tools here. And again, a captain's log is a way to bring critical information in. It's important to note that this captain's log is a company-wide captain's log, but you could also have one for each team. For instance, if there was a, maybe the CS log here is just things that we know the company needs to know, right? We're making changes. It's important that these changes, that there's visibility into them, and we want to make sure that we don't leave people in the dark. So we're going to put that here. If we want to have a more granular one, maybe we'll make our own captain's log for customer success, and we'll have that be our own board. Anybody's welcome to view it if they like, but it's going to have a lot of activity on it that maybe not everybody's interested in seeing that level of detail. So they can go to that board if they like, but we'll make sure that we keep the most critical information here on this main company-wide captain's log. Cool. I want to dive into a super important board that is a huge, huge help for dispersed teams especially, and it's the concept of a knowledge base board. And this is a concept that is really important. The problem it solves really are many problems. This is going to enable you to share all learned lessons, all helpful tips, all in a single place. Imagine the impact this has on efficiency, right? When someone puts a ton of work into solving a difficult problem that's rare, but will happen again, right? The amount of effort needed to solve it a second time is going to be minimized. Imagine the benefits to onboarding new team members or developing existing team members. Folks can't lean over and tap their colleague's shoulder to ask a quick question. Do you have that employee who's kind of your team's go-to veteran, who has they've seen everything that there is to see? They know the weird expense code for submitting credit card expenses at the end of the month. They know how to reset billing profiles. This person is just a wealth of knowledge. What we can do is capture that knowledge, put it in a centralized location, and make sure that everybody has access to that knowledge at all times. This knowledge-based board is going to help. What I've done here as an example is built out this board, and I'll make sure that you have access to this template if you like, okay, so that you can use this yourself. Of course, don't hesitate to make your own that suits your needs too. This knowledge board is really, really helpful. I've used groups. Let's just collapse all these groups so we can talk about them. Each of these groups are different types of knowledge, right? Working outside the team, how to manage your time, the basics of a board view, right? I want to use groups to make sure that different knowledge-based articles that we write are grouped in a way that makes sense. If we're going to have an article that's about, the basics of using our communication tools, we're going to put that in this group, right, for communication and collaboration, as opposed to an introduction. Cool. So this board is your tool to capture that knowledge, make sure that everybody has the availability to use it, no matter the time of day or who's available. We talked earlier about manual communication, and we used the update section to do that. What I want to do is show you how we can automate communication too. In a situation where nobody's in the same room together, it's really nice to have automated notifications happening so that folks know what's happening without having to put any extra effort into that communication. How can we use our platform to accomplish that? Automations is the answer. And I want to go through a couple of these automations right now. In order to have context for that, let's talk about the board structure here. We've got two people columns, right? I've renamed them both. The first people column is for the writing team. These are the people who are doing the writing of these things, okay? The reviewer column, which is just another people column, is the person assigning this work, right? So we can see that Sivan has asked me to write a glossary. Cool. And many different articles here. Okay. We can see who's responsible for writing them. We know when they're due. We have screenshots that need to get uploaded. We have the written content itself, and we have an approval column, right? Again, only certain people can change the approval column. We've even got a link column that houses the link to that article once we get there and we have it and it's ready for viewing. So with all this structure in mind, let's talk about automating some notifications, right? Wouldn't it be nice if Sivan simply knew the moment that I was done, right? How can we do that? In our automation center, I've got a very simple automation. When content changes to ready for review, notify reviewer. So I want to build this out in front of you, right? I'll add a new automation. All our automations are grouped into categories. And I want to look at automations that are based on status changes. Cool. When a status changes to something, move an item to a group. There's lots of different items or different status automations that we have. This is one I want to use. When a status changes to something, notify someone. When a status, well, what status? We have many status columns here in this board. We're going to use the content one. When it changes to what? Maybe Sivan wants to know anytime it changes to anything. Right now, we're just going to say ready for review. We've got two pieces left of this automation, the notification itself and the person receiving the notification. Let's focus on that first. These two are static. They'll always remain the same. It could always be me, or if I go to a team member and I select somebody from here, it'll always be that same team member, right? I can use this bar to type in anybody who's in my account. But I don't want to do that. Oops, I accidentally exited out of the automation setup. So instead, what I'll do is use the people column. And I'm going to say, I want the someone receiving this notification to be whoever is in the people column. Which people column? The reviewer people column. So whoever is in that column for the row on which that status is changed is going to receive that notification. It's very dynamic. What does the notification itself say? Folks, if you're familiar with Mad Libs, these blue bubbles are kind of like that. These are going to be dynamic fields that automatically populate the notification based on information in the item, right? So how does this read? Hi there, whoever's in the people column. Let's build this out fresh, right? Hello there, whatever the name of the person in the reviewer column is, right? Just a heads up that whoever is in the writing team column, insert their name here, has changed the name of the article, right, item name, to, and then whatever status they chose in the content bar. Great, so how would this notification read, right? Well, we knew that for that glossary item, Casey, was the person in the writing team area, and Sivan was the reviewer. So this notification would automatically go to Sivan, and it would say, hello there, Sivan, just a heads up that Casey has changed the glossary to ready for review. Nice. We'll update this automation. If you just built it fresh, it would say add to board. And now, anytime I change this column on any row to ready for review, Sivan's bell notification is going to let her know, hey, Casey changed glossary to ready for review, just like that. Very, very helpful in a situation where you're assigning people, right? We talked about clear tasks and clear goals earlier. This is kind of the manifestation of making sure that that loop is closed, right? The assignment's been given. It's very clear what needs to be done. The automation is going to close that loop. Now, the person who did the assigning has been notified. Cool, it's done. If I have any questions, I know how to, communicate with that person, right? I can obviously come right back here, use the update section to say, hey, Casey, great work. Quick question, you can have that conversation, again, tied to that specific item. A couple other automations I want to look at real quick. These are really, really helpful. Again, in a scenario where you're not talking to folks, right? Super often, we're moving to a remote environment where we're giving these assignments, and the way that we practice accountability and managing folks it's radically changing. How can we make sure that, you know, things don't fall through the cracks? Well, we've got these automation or these boards that show everything, but how do we make sure that people know that a due date is approaching, right? I love these automations and I want to show them to you. 2 days before date arrives and screenshot is not done, notify reviewer. Where would we find this this automation? If I were to add a brand new notification, or automation, and I wanted to go to my due dates section, I would find when date arrives and status is something, notify someone. You guys remember when we were talking about the board structure, how we had that due date there? I can use this automation to make sure that people are getting a series of notifications before the due date arrives, okay? So let's talk about that. When date, which date? The due by date. You might have many date columns in your board. This is where you'll select the date column on which you want to base this automation. When? How about beforehand? You do a week out, you could do a month out. I just want to do a couple days out. The turnaround time here is really such that anybody can write an article in about a half a day. So if I give them 2 days notice, that'll work for my situation. Again, you can tailor this however you like. Let's call this 9 a.m. after everybody's gotten in and they've had their coffee and their day's really started, right? When are they going to receive, under what circumstance will they receive this notification? Well, let's base that on the status. Which status? Just the content one, right? That's the one where with the actual written content. Maybe if the status is a particular status value, I want them to receive it. I think in my case, I want them to get this notification if the status is anything other than review, right? If it's not ready for review, they need to be notified that it's due in 2 days. So instead of is, I'm going to use is not. See how this is coming together? This part you're already familiar with. Who gets this notification? The person assigned to the writing team column, whoever they are. What does the notification say? Hi there. Heads up. This is due on whatever the due date is, right? And currently it's marked as whatever is in this status column, right? If you're already done, be sure to update the status column. If not, let whoever's here know if you have any questions, something like that. Add that to the board. Cool. Now, anytime this date is 2 days away and this column is anything other than ready for review, the person who's in this column will get that notification. Very, very helpful. So again, folks, lots of functionality in that in the automations area. Again, I want to spend time today focusing on tools that are going to help you make this transition to a remote work environment. And I hope these automations were helpful, and I want to encourage you to explore the Automation Center found on any board by clicking this button. And again, don't hesitate to go to support.monday.com, where we've got a ton of very helpful resources on using automations. And if you need help setting it up for your specific situation, email support@monday.com and we'll be happy to help. A couple more things to cover here today. The first is a brand new integration that we have with Zoom. Zoom is the software that we're using right now to have this webinar. It's an incredible video conference software that we highly recommend to folks. And we've got a brand new way to integrate Zoom with your monday.com account. I want to show you that real quick. This integration is about 48 hours old. It's very, very new. We're extra excited about it. And I want to show you real quick how you'd set it up. The automations are available on any board by clicking this little robot friend. He's a cool buddy. I like his little icon there. The integrations are set up by clicking on this icon. If you add a new integration, you'll see all the different pieces of software with which we integrate. And Zoom is the newest. So I'll click that. What I want to do is make sure that when hosting a meeting on Zoom, that an item is created on my board and that the details are synced to this board. Okay. When hosting a meeting, right? Which meeting? Uh-oh. Do a little refresh. That always helps. Oh, sorry about that, folks. I'll just tell you. The options are meetings that are in your personal meeting room or any meeting that you host at all. Now, what is it going to do when you host a meeting? It'll create an item. What will that item look like on your board? You can decide that, right? The way that your board is structured will pop up here, and then you remember these little blue bubbles that we talked about before? They're here in the integrations too. And you can use this to fill in details that'll help you understand what is happening in that meeting, give you the insights that you need, right? So in my item update, remember we talked about that little conversation bubble, the update section? I want it to show me all the participants of that meeting, right? I can use this plus button to fill in any information I want from that meeting. I just want it to show the participants for now. I want the item name to be the name of the meeting itself. That's easy enough. And again, I can just find that by scrolling in here and finding the meeting name. That's what I'd put here. I'll leave the description empty. I want the recording. In fact, I made a text column on my board, and I want the recording of that meeting to go into that item as soon as I'm done. This is going to be a really helpful tool for me. Let me show you how it looks. On my board here, this integration is extremely helpful for capturing action items in video meetings that we've already had. It's going to provide us a library of past video meetings, right? Especially in a distributed team, it's totally possible that not everybody's able to make the meeting. Maybe there's conflicting meetings, maybe there's super different time zones. We can make sure that all these meetings are recorded in one place. You can see I've been testing this integration quite a lot here recently. And what it's going to do is bring that meeting in and put the little recording right here so that afterward, anybody can click on it and watch that meeting if you want. When you schedule the meeting in Zoom, you're pretty much already done. You can just forget about it because the moment that meeting begins, this item will be created, okay? This is the sync that Scott and I had yesterday. Very, very helpful tool. The moment the meeting ends, it's going to be updated with whatever you told it to update, right? Which is what I just showed you in the setup of that. Now with the Zoom Pro account, you can even automatically update the meeting participants to meeting changes through this integration. That does require a Zoom Pro account. I just want to note that. Again, I invite you to explore this integration in your account. And one thing to note, we're just getting started. This integration is so new. There are some really, really exciting updates coming to many of our integrations, but specifically this Zoom integration in the coming weeks that are really going to help you have an easy time keeping those meetings together in a single place. Folks, it's time. You've all been waiting for that secret squirrel agenda item, and I'm going to show you, I have to say, my very, very favorite part of the monday.com platform. And we're gonna use a fun example for this. In this really difficult transition, the monday.com forms tool is going to return sanity and order to the poor IT and ops team that you have overwhelmed by asking them to help you manage this transition to a remote environment, right? If there's a group of human beings who can help your entire organization transition from in-house to remote, it's definitely your ops or your IT team, but even they have limits. Requests for everything from an extra mouse to a VPN setup are coming into their team, and they're coming from so many different sources. How can you give them a break? You can make a board. Let's build it out right in front of you. Create new board. Let's just start this one from scratch. Let's call it ops IT requests. Okay. Need a mouse? VPN setup? Anything? Use this form and it'll go right to the IT team. But I'll show you how this works. This is going to be so much fun. Okay, so let's call this owner, the person who needs to do the work, right? Status, we'll leave that as is. Date column, yeah, that can stay there too. That works for us. Why don't we add a drop-down column? I like this column a lot. And we're going to put a couple different options here. We'll call this department, the department that the person filling out the form uses. CS, let's make a new one for HR, make a new one for finance. Great. You'll see where all this is going in just a minute. And let's do one more column here. Why don't we do a text column? This is going to allow the person submitting the request to say, what do you need? Cool. Now, neat board, but how does it actually get used here? What we're going to do is use our board views, add view, go to more. I want to find the form view. We'll add this to the board. We'll call it IT Ops Requests. Cool. Now, share a form based on this board. What does that mean? This. Our forms tool is super helpful. And what it's going to do is allow your board that you've just built to be manifested in a form, and you'll be able to share this with people as a link. So what I would do is share the form. I'm going to copy this link. And what I'm going to do is send this link to my entire company and say, hey, folks, listen, the IT team has a lot of stuff on their plate, and we're going to be putting more on their plate, right? Every time you need anything from them, please fill out this form so that all the work that they need to do is in a centralized location. In fact, folks, let's do this. I'm going to put this link in the chat. Why don't you click on that link and fill it out, and let's watch how these forms that you submit will automatically appear right here on this board. I'm just going to delete all the items using our batch actions tool that are already in this board. And I'm going to ask you folks to pop into that link that I just put in the chat box. And I'll ask that a few of you just fill it out, and we'll watch those items appear here in this area, in this board. Perfect. So people use the help area to type in what they need. Right off the bat, they're able to select a status. And what I can do even is go into the form area in my form view. And I can say, you know what? I'm the IT team. I want to be the one setting the status. So I'll just say that nobody who's filling out the form can see the status option. That's just for me to use, right? And then once these come in, we can see here, people's names, the date it was submitted, what they need, right? And all this stuff is just going to automatically appear on my board, which is really, really cool. All right, now, how does the IT team use automations to figure out what all this does or where everything stands? What I can do, what I'm going to do real quick, folks, is pop into my form and deactivate it for the moment, just so that we're not getting overwhelmed. Go back to my main table and see, wow, the IT team has a lot of work to do, right? I'm going to use a status-based automation so that anytime a status changes to done, it goes to a different group. Right now, this group is just my purple group, right? We talked about this earlier, how you can use different groups to mean different things. I want this group to be the done tasks. So anytime I mark something to done, Dana's request is now done. Thanks, Dana. Enjoy your VPN. That automatically got moved down to my done group. And now the IT team knows we don't have to deal with that anymore. Okay, folks, it's been really, really cool. I've got 7 minutes left to do Q&A. I just want to show you one more really neat tool that we just released yesterday before we go to the Q&A section. If I click on my profile here and go to my profile, and then I click on working status, I'm going to be able to show people whether I'm in the office, whether I have limited availability, whether I'm out of the office or working from home. And the moment I click on these, it's going to add that little icon to my picture so that anytime anybody anywhere in the platform sees me, maybe they're assigning me in a people column, maybe they're mentioning me somewhere in an update section, they'll see that I'm working from home or that I'm out of the office right now. If I want, I can choose dates that this applies to, or I can just leave it blank. I'm permanently working from home. And if I want, I can also disable notifications during that time or not, depending on what I prefer. So we just added that yesterday. Really, really helpful tool. Our support team is here 24/7. Please feel free to ask your questions by sending us an email, support@monday.com. Again, that's support@monday.com. And we'll be happy to answer those questions. You might also find the answers to those questions by visiting support.monday.com, which is our knowledge base. You'll find a ton of super helpful resources. Highly encourage you to go there and look for the answers to your questions. Again, we're here 24/7 and always happy to help. Folks, really, really appreciate all of your time today. I just want to say, I hope that the principles we covered here today, again, they're gonna range in how they actually look for your solution. But I hope we covered a bunch of stuff that was helpful for you to just conceptualize how to make this transition to a remote environment. Listen, from everybody here at monday.com, we wish you health and wellness during some difficult times. We hope that you're all well, and we want to help however we can. Don't hesitate to write us and ask. Support@monday.com is our email address. Well wishes and a great day to you all. Thanks again for all your time. Peace.